of you will know that Peter Black is the AM for South Wales West and the party spokesman for local government, housing and heritage. And you'll also know that Peter is part of the original cohort of AMs, and he was elected in 1999. He's been a councillor in Swansea since 1983, and his community has been receiving focus leaflets for over 30 years. What a lucky community they are. He's well known for his blog and has led the way for the party in developing our digital presence. Will you welcome Peter, please?
Thank you, Christine. Let's hope the wait was worth it. The conference, it's been a hell of a year, and yet, despite being the target of every brickbat conceivable, we are still here, as strong as ever, with a record in government at a UK level to be proud of, and a great opportunity to use our influence in the Welsh Assembly. As the group's business manager, I've had the task of literally rebuilding the team, working closely with 4 talented individuals in holding the government to account and promoting the Welsh Liberal Democrat agenda. As ever, we've had to fight to be heard, but as finance spokesperson, I know that we now have an opportunity to deliver some of our key policies as part of the budget negotiations. But those talks are not about us. It's about ensuring that the Welsh Government uses the resources at its disposal to help employers take on and prepare new trainees. It's about putting in place an innovation fund so that we can turn invaluable research in our universities into high-quality, well-paid jobs and successful businesses. And it's about closing the £600 per pupil funding gap between England and Wales in our schools and focusing additional resources to assist our poorest pupils to fulfil their potential. Those are the issues at stake in the talks over how this government is going to get its budget through the Assembly. We cannot let down those who are depending on that process for their future, and for that reason we will not roll over easily. But it's not just in the budget that we will seek to use our influence. We've heard so much about Labour's programme for government and its failure to set clear targets on which it can be measured. In the field of housing, that failure is felt most critically. Too many people are struggling to get a home of their own. The House Builders Federation estimates that there are 100,000 Welsh families on housing waiting lists, with first-time buyers needing an average deposit of around £30,000. They say that only 918 new homes were registered in the first 3 months of the year, compared to 1,120 last year, despite rises in house building across the UK. The Welsh Government's own research says that we need 14,200 new homes each year in Wales, of which 5,100 need to be affordable. We've already fallen behind that target by 9,500 homes. The Welsh Government's response has been pitiful. They've cut the budget for new social housing, and so far all we have had is a deafening silence on how they're going to tackle this crisis. At least the One Wales Government had a target as to how many additional homes they planned to build, even if they did fail to meet it. Under Labour, we're back to vague promises and hopeless inaction. And these are not just figures, they relate to people's lives. Like my constituent from the Rhondda and Taff area, who emailed me recently to tell me about the problems that he and his partner are having getting onto the property ladder as first-time buyers, despite the fact that they are both in work. He told me she'd recently attended a mortgage appointment and was informed that he would need to find a 25% deposit if he wanted to take out a mortgage. So if he bought an average house with his partner for £100,000, they would need to find £25,000. As he said, "I'm not quite sure how people are meant to save this sort of money and still live." If we do not build new homes, then we will not be able to bring prices down. If we do not provide more homes for people to rent, then they will remain in desperate need of a roof over their head that they can call their own. If we do not put in additional help for first-time buyers, then they will never be able to afford a mortgage to secure their first home. I recognise that public finances are tight, but if we think outside of the box, then we can start to tackle this problem. There are 26,000 empty private sector homes in Wales that can be brought back into use, but we're still waiting for the government to give us the leadership and the tools to deliver. Proposals to raise £100 million of private finance for new affordable homes have been on the cards for years with little or no progress. And now it seems that the Labour government has given up on this plan as well. It's not just housing in which Labour ministers have lost their way. For some time now, their attitude and policies towards local government have been confused and incoherent. That they are floundering in the dark is evidence from the network of partnerships that they have been promoting, culminating in the so-called definitive statement a few months ago that for many was the final straw. The situation now is that we have 6 consortia to provide health services, in addition to the 7 health boards. There are 4 consortia to deliver education services, 3 consortia to provide social services, a complete different set of consortia for transport and economic development, and of course there are emerging partnerships for waste services as well. The Welsh Government may have failed to get our economy moving, but they've certainly been successful in establishing a consortia factory, churning out partnerships like there is no tomorrow. Effectively, there are over 30 organisations in addition to the 22 local councils, all delivering services. Nowhere in this has any consideration been given to transparency and accountability. Like the Minister, I don't believe that this is the time for reorganisation, though I recognise that at some stage it is inevitable and necessary so as to properly empower local communities. However, meddling in individual appointments and seeking to bully democratically elected councillors is no solution either. Indeed, it's a bit rich from a government that still employs former NHS directors on salaries well beyond their current role to lecture anyone on rates of staff pay. Nor can we take lessons on collaboration from ministers when those services they control, such as health, are the most resistant and the most inconsistent on working with local councils to deliver joined-up services. Last week, Peter Hain stood before his party's local government conference and urged them to pick off Liberal Democrat seats in May's local council elections. He should know that we're not going to give up without a fight. Welsh Liberal Democrats will be fighting the local council elections next year on the strength of their record of achievement and hard work. Labour's record of mismanagement will continue to haunt them. Whether it is forcing new terms and conditions on staff in Rhondda and Tarf, losing £20 million of taxpayers' money in Icelandic banks in Neath Talbot, whilst at the same time cutting the wages of their staff, or delivering a job evaluation outcome in Bridgend that was described by one Unison official as the worst outcome he had seen in Wales in terms of outcomes for particular workers. On the basis of their record in local government in Wales, Labour have renounced all claim to be a radical party. Their opportunism and their failure to represent the interests of working people once they get the reins of power are 2 good reasons why they must not succeed next May. In contrast, the Welsh Liberal Democrats have a good record. As a party, we helped to run all 4 of the major conurbations in Wales. Our accomplishments are impressive. Here in Wrexham, the Liberal Democrat-led council has invested £60 million in a solar energy system, which is one of the largest in the UK and will provide cheaper energy for 3,500 council tenants. The council has turned around the education service and has supplemented the work of the town's police by employing 47 PCSOs itself to work in local communities. It's also won a national award for the protection of open space for the 4th time in 5 years. In Swansea, the Welsh Liberal Democrats have kept council tax rises at less than half the rate they were under Labour. We reopened the leisure centre that Labour's incompetence closed, and we built a new bus station that Labour promised to be in place by 2004, but never delivered. In addition, this year we did not just put the extra 1% into education demanded of the Welsh Government, but we added an additional £1.2 million to the school budget, a cash increase, and created a £400,000 fund designed to improve literacy and numeracy. In Cardiff, the Liberal Democrat-led council have delivered a major new shopping centre. They've improved recycling rates and worked with the local football club to deliver a new stadium that will hopefully assist in producing Wales's 2nd Premiership side. too have invested in education and kept council tax increases at a much lower rate than the previous Labour administration. They've committed to spending £180 million on school building improvements. Finally, in Newport, the Liberal Democrats have cut councils' allowances, initiated £21 million investment in improving the local roads, and made sure that the city reaped the full benefits of the Ryder Cup. Welsh Liberal Democrats share power elsewhere in Wales, of course, and in each council area that we have influence, similar successes are being recorded. It is no wonder that Peter Hain is paranoid about us. Welsh Liberal Democrats have already demonstrated our resilience in defying all expectations in this year's Assembly elections. Next May, we intend to do so again. We are working hard in communities up and down the country, delivering improvements for local residents, getting things done. In the next 6 months, we will redouble our efforts and work harder than we have ever done so before. We will continue the work that we have started, improving services, reforming government, empowering communities, driving forward change, building liberal democracy in the best way we know, from the bottom up. Thank you.